And we're live. I can't remember which number of Vlogmas this is, Carolyn. It's either Vlogmas 9 or 10. I don't remember. I didn't check. The title, what is the name of that song? And we will tell you at the end of this video. Or I'll probably slip and tell you later. But you'll find out one way or the other. Welcome to another Bill Marion live stream. Welcome, one and all. I just got finished slurping down some of this Diet Cherry Coke. I think it's Diet. I don't know. Carolyn may have spiked it with sugar. We're still trying to figure out. The lab results aren't in yet, but we're working on it. But welcome to another Vlogmas spectacular live stream. We've had a pretty good time on these live streams. Sunday night is not usually the best night for a live stream. That's what I've learned. It's not, but it's Vlogmas. What can you do? What can you do? But welcome. I hope you guys stick around tonight. We're going to have a lot of fun. We're going to talk about odd things about Christmas. Odd things about Christmas. You can share your stories. We want to hear your stories. Gary Millwood is in the house. Good to see you. Gary, I think you were on the live stream at the church today, if I'm not mistaken. It might have been you. I think so. I only glanced at the Facebook stream, but it's good to see you. Big Frog and Cooking is in the house. Outstanding. Good to see you guys. I'm grateful for you being here with us this evening. It's very wonderful. Had a great day today at church. Good stuff going on. Always exciting. And tonight we were talking about weird things about Christmas, strange things about Christmas. It could be anything, like anything from like weird traditions that maybe only your family has, but we want to hear about them. You got to comment. Just if you're watching on a phone, that can make things difficult because, you get the fat thumb and you're having to, do that one of those. It's really funny. You can always tell when somebody's written an email on their phone because it's like all over the place. It's usually real sloppy. I don't mean the handwriting sloppy because obviously it's on the phone and you're typing. I get it. It's funny. Anyway, nobody's worried about grammar anymore these days. Grammar's gone out the window. Nobody cares, because everything is like, just get the information out there. But weird things, anything weird about Christmas. One of the things weird, I'll show you, this is a silly story, but it's something in my childhood. I had a reading assignment over the holidays one time. And I can't remember the name of the book, but it was a book set in a Christmas season. And it was a murder mystery. I know this sounds crazy, but I was a kid. I think I was 12. So it was like 6th grade or 7th grade or something. And I was enthralled with this book. It was like one of my favorite. And I'd never read a murder mystery. Like this was the first time. And maybe it was called the Red Coat Mystery, but I don't think that's it. But it was just an awesome murder mystery. And I was a kid and it was set during Christmas. So it was scary. It was even scarier. I was enthralled. Gary says, yes, it was me. I love your message. Haven't been able to be in church since March. Gary, we appreciated you being there and come every Sunday, man. We stream every Sunday. It's something that started during COVID because obviously during COVID, we did like everybody else did. We went to live stream and we really, God really helped us because we weren't prepared at all. And a lot of churches were already live streaming their services, but we weren't. And so we started live streaming. And then we went to the parking lot, and that was pretty cool. And then after the parking lot, we just continued live streaming, and we're going to continue to live stream here on. We've got a lot of work to do with our quality and things like that. But we're going to start actually live streaming our music as well here very soon. We got to get our mix right so that it sounds decent when it's coming over the internet waves, this here internet. But anyway, what kind of weird stuff, weird traditions, weird memories, strange memories about Christmas do you have? This will not be fun if I'm the only one talking. It's a lot better when you are talking. Bryn G is in the house. Bryn G is my West Virginia historian person, sort of. She is a West Virginia expert, sort of. I mean, I don't know if she's an expert or not, but we say that she is. It's a lot of fun. I'll tell you something. I had. It's always funny. You make videos about certain states, or you're kind about a state, especially West Virginia. We really enjoyed being there a lot this year. Carol and I were in West Virginia a lot this past year, and next year we're hoping that it's Pennsylvania. We want to kind of go a different direction this year because we spent so much time in West Virginia. Knowing us, we'll probably be in West Virginia again, but we want to go north and explore some Pennsylvania, and we're excited if we're able to do that. Obviously, for reasons that you and I both know, we're not going to be able to do that anytime soon because of the situation. But where was I going with any of this? Oh, yeah. It's always funny to watch people's comments about certain states. Like, let's take Arizona, for example. You'll do a video about Arizona. We have that 10 facts list that done really well. But you'll have all these people with these mean comments about people moving into their state or how they hated the state and they moved out. It's always funny to watch that. Somebody left a comment recently that they were like bashing West Virginia and be like, I moved out so many years ago and I've never been back since. And I'm like, bless your heart. Like, I was like, I'm sorry. Why'd you watch the video? You know, I didn't know, but I'm glad they did. I'm not putting their comment down. It was just like the West Virginia hater. You know, West Virginia is easy to pick on, but it's just so not fair. It's a wonderful state. It's an awesome state. It's a great state. So share with me some Christmas oddities that you guys have. I got to put a mint in my mouth to keep my mouth wet. Bryn G says, I miss it. Yeah, I know you do. We've talked about that. I'm going to tell you, you know, we went to the Rocky Mountains last month, and it's beautiful. Okay. Yes, that is a UT sweatshirt, Jessica. Don't hate. Don't hate. You love them when they're good and when they're bad. Go Vols. So yeah, anyway, went to the Rocky Mountains, Bryn, and it was beautiful. There's no place like it. There are places out there like Garden of the Gods where you feel like you're in another world. I'd say all of the American West is like that. American Southwest is like that, where there's no other place on the planet quite like those places out west. And yet, east of the Mississippi, West Virginia stands out as, and somebody from West Virginia said this on one of my videos, like, we don't want this to be a touristy state. You know, it's like, please don't talk about tourism in West Virginia. And I don't blame them. I so get it. It's like, no, we don't want it to turn into Gatlinburg. But I've predicted, you know, all things being equal, if we have a decade just like the one we had, I know that everybody's like, really? You know, but if we had a decade, just average things happening, I'm telling you, West Virginia is going to slowly begin to emerge as a vacation destination for a lot of families who want to do something outside of the norm, as far as they want to do outdoor adventures kind of stuff. It's just growing in popularity. I don't know if West Virginia is ready for that, or like the person that was commenting on one of my videos, it's not just, are they ready for that? I don't know if a lot of West Virginians want that. You know, Violet Johnson is in the house. Good to see you. Jessica Harris is loving this UT shirt, sweatshirt. I think my mom got me this. Speaking of that. If you see me scratching my nose often, I apologize. It's something that happens every Sunday night. I'm trying to figure out why. I have no idea. So I'm waiting for your comments. You have got to share. It is on you. It is on you tonight to tell us your weird Christmas stories, like just strange things that have happened to you during Christmas. Jessica says, that was my first choice school. You know what? I don't know much about going to UT. I didn't go to UT. I have a friend of mine that went to UT, a young person, just a little bit older than you, that went to UT, had a great experience. It's a great school, man. I mean, you know, in the Big Ten, I'm a Michigan fan. In the SEC, I'm a UT fan. If you live there, you got to play the part. Dennis Jackson is in the house. He says, I just got here. The topic, in case you're joining in, is to share a strange thing about a Christmas tradition of yours or a strange Christmas memory, because during Christmas time, strange, weird things happen. You get a whole bunch of family together that hasn't been together. And I know this year, families getting together, we're not even going to get into that. But, you know, most years, almost all years but this one, you know, the families get together and like the weird stuff happens. You know, the crazy stuff happens. You know, at least maybe that was just my family. Maybe that was just us. But yeah, I mean, it was kind of cool. I have great Christmas memories, though. I think everybody wants that white Christmas. You know, we put a real big demand on a white Christmas, don't we? I mean, think about it. It's early winter. You're demanding a white Christmas, which Christmas is like Christmas Eve and Christmas Day. That's when you want the white stuff, right? And I am calling it, the white stuff is snow, not any other kind of white stuff. We're talking about snow here. You're wanting snow on Christmas Eve and Christmas Day. So out of all of the year, you're putting your money on these 2 days. You're like, please, Lord, give us these 2 days of snow. And then after that, you want it to go away, you know? Jessica Harris says, when we visit my grandparents for Christmas, we roast hot dogs and marshmallows in their living room. That's about as weird as it gets. Well, you know what? It depends. I mean, if you have a fireplace in the living room, that's a cool thing. That's awesome. That's a nice, warm, cozy memory. But if you're building a fire in the living room and you don't have a fireplace, that is very weird. That's very dangerous. It's very crazy. We have some of my best memories across Christmas. Of course, being in Michigan, that's where we celebrated Christmas on a lot of years, was right outside Detroit around Taylor. They call it Taylor-Tucky. because a lot of the people in the car boom during the 1950s moved up there. And it's like being in the South still, you know? And so you'd have these gorgeous white Christmases that were just beautiful. The streets are all covered with ice and snow. It was just wonderful. But then there was this year, and I want to say it was 1985, where it was like 70 degrees on Christmas, which is weird for Michigan. I mean, you may be there at Christmas and it's not snowing, but 70 degrees. I mean, it was unseasonably warm. It was just odd. And my aunt and I explained this last night. She's like 18 months older than me. We both got these ventriloquist doll things. I don't know whose idea it was to get us fit, but that's what we got from somebody. I think Mamaw got us that, and it was great. And so we walked around the neighborhood in 70-degree weather with our ventriloquist dolls, like, you know, I don't know. Bridgie says, I came from a big family. So in my younger days, every Christmas was chaos. Well, yeah, the bigger the family, the better it is, though. Chaos is fun. That's why I have a small family, one child. You know what, Bryn? You don't have a child. When you only have one kid, it's a pet. It's just a pet. That's what I tell everybody with one kid. I was an only child, so I always say that I tell my mom and dad that. I'm like, you didn't have a kid. You had a pet. You don't have kids until you have like 2 or more, and then the chaos is real. Just playing, though, of course. Juan Thomas says, or Big Frog says, my life is boring. Your life is not boring. Your life is usually the people with the most exciting lives are the ones that say, my life is boring. Would you not agree, Miss Carolyn? That most of the people, when they say, my life is so boring, when you start talking to them, you realize that their life is crazy every single time. Juan Thomas said, so's mine, Big Frog. Juan, don't even act like your life is boring because we know you're a secret agent. Don't even act like we forgot about that bit because we know, Juan, you're a secret agent. We know this. Gary Millwood says, woke up with the measles one Christmas. There you go. So far, Gary is in the lead. So far, Gary's in the lead. You've blown all of my stories out of the water. That would be awful. That would be terrible. I have a friend of mine in high school. My best friend, my son's named after him. I love him to pieces. He had perfect attendance all through elementary school. Never missed a single day of school. Had perfect attendance every day of junior high school. 3 years of junior high school down where we used to live back in the day. Never missed a single day. Perfect attendance. Every year he would get the little piece of paper. Congratulations, you've never missed. You are wonderful. In high school, his sophomore, his junior year, he never missed a day. He got the little piece of paper. You are so wonderful. Perfect attendance. The last month of school, his senior year, he got the chicken pox. And boy, did we give him a hard time. It was great. We made fun of him. When they had the little high school, you know, for people with perfect attendance for their whole life, they get like ice cream or something on a day. And we were like, guess where you're not going? No ice cream for you. It was great. Anyway, I know that was a stale story, but I had to share it. I always felt bad for that, though, because that had to be disappointing. It was quite an accomplishment if you think about it. So true, he will always be my pet. Yeah, I'm telling you, man, one kid, you know, one kid, it's almost like there's no way, you're not even buying extra food for one kid. You know, it's like you and your spouse, you're eating, and it's like you just cut a piece of meat off, and he cuts a piece of meat off, and you share it with the one kid. Gary Millwood says, I was an only child also. What are all these only children doing in here? It's me. I'm putting out that vibe of only child vibe. Mom's got to tell everybody that I had perfect attendance in high school as well. Yes, but there was a reason. Juan Thomas said, I had 3 sisters, 1 passed, no brothers. Yep, I get the short end of the stick. You had 3 sisters. By the way, I'm very sorry for the loss of the 1 sister. And no brothers. Man, that had to be tough, though. In a house full of women all around you, man, you're going to be last for the bathroom. You're going to be last at everything. That'd be awful. But then again, it might be kind of cool because you're the only boy, and then everybody's – because Anna and Crystal used to do that with Nathan. I mean, they babied him, you know, like, you know, of course, everybody in the family says Nathan's the golden child anyway. Dennis says, I have a brother named Denver. Yes, you do. Yes, you do. I miss Denver Jackson. I miss all y'all, man. I miss every single one of you guys so bad. And I need to just drive through Barberville one time on the way back to Tennessee to see Mom or something, and stop by and just start knocking on doors and go, hey, missed you. I've stopped by to say hey, just drop in on people. Don't you hate it when people drop in unannounced? It's like, seriously, I hate it. I can't tell you how bad I hate it when somebody just knocks on the door. Just give me 15 minutes, man. Just give me 15 minutes, which we haven't had that issue really it never had that issue. But, back in the day, that was normal. People did that all the time. Dennis says, and then Gary says, it's the only child show with Bill Marion. Ladies, hey, you know what? You've just given me an idea for another Vlogmas. It's the only child show. Has anybody guessed the song on the title? Name this song. Dennis says, that bad, isn't it? I got lost, Dennis. You said that bad. I didn't know what we were referring to. Christopher Hines is back in the house. Says, I have one biological brother and 3 step siblings. Man, you got a family too. That's a family right there. Yeah, that's, let me do my math. Math much. Hey, what is it? That's you got 4 siblings, man. I mean, that's a family. It's 5 kids. How many is in a litter? Like a litter of cats or a litter of whatever. Jessica Harris says, at Christmas dinner 2 years ago, my uncle had a minor seizure and hit the fork, and it flew through the air and landed in the potatoes. I'm not supposed to laugh at that. Bless his heart. I hate it that he had a minor seizure. But it's awesome that the fork landed in the potatoes, and for that, he gets a bonus. Oh, Dennis says, having a brother like Dennis, is that bad, isn't it? Having a brother like Denver, I should say. I apologize. Oh, man, no, Denver's wonderful. Man, some of the best memories of my first 2 years there at Union, we're spending time with the Jackson family. They're just so wonderful, just so awesome. Juan Thomas said, is it the wedding song? No. I can't give any hints though either, because to me it should be a no-brainer. But then again, Sunday nights I'm pretty tired on Sunday nights. Obviously, I'm pretty exhausted, so I can never make Sunday nights a permanent live stream situation because I'm worn out. But I may have left a daaaa out, so one of this daaaa, I may have left one out. So I worry about that. I'm like, what if I tell people what it is and it's like that's not it? Like, you left a daaaa out. But no, it's not the wedding song. But there may be enough daahs in there for it to be the wedding song. I don't know. Crazy Christmas stories. Crazy Christmas stories. Moving to the South was a big change for us. Having lived in Michigan and then moved to Tennessee when I was 12, one of the things that I had to get used to was warm weather in the winter. I mean, Tennessee does the part we lived in. The rest of Tennessee, they have cold weather, but we lived right there about an hour and a half. The way a crow flies, about an hour and a half from Atlanta. Now, with Atlanta traffic, it's going to take you 10 hours. But as far as distance goes, it's just not that far at all from Chattanooga to Atlanta, at least not where we live. And so you're in the South. I mean, you're not that far. Man, I think we were like 4 or 5 hours from the Florida line or less. And so it's hot. And you have warm winters, but they have had white Christmases, and we did get snow a few times while we were down there. But it was crazy because you're getting used to having these mild winters. And so, yeah, we would always go back to Michigan to see our family in Michigan during Christmas. Dennis Jackson is saying, is it the Tennessee Waltz? No, but that would have been kind of clever if I had done that with the Tennessee shirt, given the hint. You're thinking I'm smarter than what I am, Dennis. You're making me way smarter than what I am. Violet says, is that the song? No, no one has said the song yet. No one has said the song.
She said the Tennessee, or Hey, Hey, Goodbye.
No, it's not Hey, Hey, Goodbye. Sorry, I didn't see that. Thanks, babe. I didn't see that. By the way, everybody say hello to Carolyn tonight. She's with us. We missed her on the last live stream. She wasn't with us, but she is with us tonight. Christopher Hines says, Tennessee Christmas. No, it's not Tennessee Christmas either. That's the cheesiest song, A Tender Tennessee Christmas. Oh, you know what? That had to have been written. I mean, you got the person who's, the country artist or whatever that they say wrote it, but it was really written by people in a cubicle. We'll talk about that some other time. But you look at the lyrics of that, and it's like, I know we love the song. Look, I'm from Tennessee, lived there for most of my life. I get it. But I'm just saying, I can't sing it either. It's so weird that the way copyright works, because they'll gag at a gnat and swallow a camel sometimes. So I'm always hesitant to be funny and sing a few lyrics of a song or something, because I'm like, demonetized, claimed video, which is hysterical. This year has been weird. I've had a lot of videos that initially not a lot, but more than the year before, that initially get demonetized and I have to appeal them. It's just crazy. When you have a video that gets demonetized, it doesn't circulate right. That's always weird. Gary Millwood says, everyone wants a white Christmas in Chattanooga, then we get snow, and everyone is complaining about the roads being closed. Right? Am I right? Gary, if you remember a few years ago, I want to say it was 2015. It may have been 2014. I don't remember. Maybe 14 or 15. In the early morning hours, like during the commute to work there in Chattanooga, I worked at Unum at the time, and I was driving on, 27 there, heading into Chattanooga, and the clouds were looking crazy. And having spent a lot of time in Michigan and Southeast Kentucky, I know what snow clouds look like. And I was like, wow, this looks like snow. And as soon as I got it out of my mouth, it started pouring. And so I pulled into Unum, and I'm like, wow, this is real snow. And everybody said it was going to pass over. Do you remember that at all? And then all of a sudden, 2 hours later, the whole city of Chattanooga was shut down. It took my wife, 4 hours to get the kids home or something like that? Right. It was unbelievable. Juan Thomas says, Star Wars. No? Good guess, but no. When I say good guess, I don't want to throw out a false hint because it's not related to Star Wars either. But, I see where you're going with that. Big Frog Barbecue and Cooking says, dashing through the snow in a one-horse open sleigh. No. Elizabeth Scholl says, but I will say this, warmer. I got to make sure I remember what the name of the song is. I just thought about that. I thought, I hope I'm right. Elizabeth Scholl says, I got fluorescent crayons in my stocking from Santa. Fluorescent crayons? I don't think I've ever heard of that. My dog ate them. Then she proceeded to poop fluorescent speckled poop through That's nasty and creative all at the same time. Violet Johnson said 2010. I'm not remembering. No, that was, I remember 2010 snow, which was awesome because Dennis had built that, a different Dennis that's in the chat room right now, Dennis Johnson, mom's husband. He built this awesome sleigh. Welded this sleigh looked like something Santa would have. It was huge. You remember that. Yeah. And he pulled the kids around the four-wheeler. It was a lot of fun. And so that was the other thing back in the whole Chattanooga thing. I don't know how many salt trucks or plows they had. The old joke is that we had 2. And I don't know how many exactly we had. All I know is that 27 was locked down. The whole town was just absolutely locked down. It was crazy. Christopher Hines says, nothing shuts down in Colorado. No, I bet. We have snow on the ground, and I went to Walmart in shorts and a hoodie. When we got to Colorado, when we drove from Denver, with the airport, picked up our rent a van. By the way, never use thrifty car rental. I don't care. Just don't. Yeah, bad experience. But when we picked up our van and we're heading back, we're going to Estes Park. We stopped at the Walmart. What's the name of the town there where the Walmart's at? Longmont. We stopped in Longmont. We're in the Walmart. And again, it was one of those situations where I'm like, the kids were like, where's all the mountains? I'm like, the snow clouds are blocking them. It was in the evening time. It was getting dark. And I'm like, trust me, all these clouds, we need to hurry in here. And sure enough, as soon as we started climbing the mountain there to get to Estes Park, it was a blizzard and the roads were just unbelievable. But while we were in Walmart, I don't know how many people I saw in hoodies and shorts, sandals, and we were freezing. All of us were freezing. And Virginia is not Chattanooga. It's not quite as cold as Michigan, but we have weather here. We haven't had any this year, but we have weather, but we were freezing. Elizabeth Scholl says, Juan, it glowed. It was hysterical. She's referring to the fluorescent poop, as mentioned earlier in the comments. I can't imagine how nasty that would be. Elizabeth, I hope you took pictures. I'm just saying that would be very... Juan saying, at least you can see it in the dark. And you know what? That would keep you from getting your shoes dirty. You have to go outside or something, and that it's glow. Matter of fact, there's an idea in that, maybe. I'm just saying, you put something in the dog's food to kind of make their, and that way, even in the daytime, it sticks out a little more amongst the grass there to where you can see it. And that way, when people don't pick up their pets' bathroom stuff, then, You ever notice that there are pet owners that don't take care of their pets like that, and they expect everybody in society to be like okay with it? Is it the song from Home Alone? I don't know. I don't think so. I don't think so. I'm checking something real quick. I'm checking the answer. No, because I don't remember the songs from Home Alone. That's the problem. I don't remember the songs from Home Alone. Elizabeth says that was my funny Christmas story. Listen, you got to tell your funny Christmas stories. We've had some good ones. We got fluorescent poop. We've got getting the measles on Christmas Day, which was awesome. Not that you got the measles on Christmas Day. That was, I'm sure, not awesome, but it's a cool story, and you lived to tell about it. Man, the measles were a big deal. Very feared back in the day, man. Very feared. Juan Thomas, is it the song Stars and Stripes Forever? What's sad is no. However, I'm like, it could pass for it because I'm trying to count the daas right now in my head. Wow. It may have the same amount of daas there. Chris Bryan says, Grandpa got run over by a reindeer. Grandma got run over. I'm beginning to think that I've made this very difficult because a lot of the songs may have the same, whatever you would call that, rhythm of the words, syllabus, whatever. You know what I'm saying? I'm looking through the comments to make sure I haven't missed any. Carolyn's usually good at keeping me abreast of the comments. It's been a phenomenal situation with Vlogmas, though. We've done very good. I'm really thankful for how many people show up, even after the live stream, and then watch it later. If you ever miss a live stream and you're wanting to watch along, the comments are usually posted on the right side because I have the option to get rid of the comments or keep the comments, the chat. And I always keep it because that's half the fun, the references to what people are saying in the comments. So if you didn't know that already, I know if you are on YouTube and do the live thing all the time with people, you probably already knew that. And you're like, why are you sharing that? Well, because we have people that don't know that. So as they ask me, where are the comments? It's like, it's on the right-hand side of the screen. So when you watch it later, that's where the comments are. We also have people that they'll mention something like, Mark was talking about this the other day, that there was something that certain people's comments weren't showing up. It's not that I'm saying that Mark's not telling me what he's seeing on the screen. I'm just not seeing that on my screen. When I go back and rewatch them, I'm seeing all the comments. But if you have additional comments, I definitely appreciate you telling me. And I always let YouTube know. But it really helps if you're letting YouTube know and I'm letting YouTube know. In other words, do the due diligence because it helps our channel too because it lets people know you're interested in the channel. So if you're having issues, let YouTube know. I let YouTube know, and it really does help a great deal. Juan Thomas says, I love the song Grandma Got Run Over by a Reindeer. Great and fun song. Who sung that song? Like, I know it's an old song, but who came out with that? Joy to the World. No, this time, Jessica, it's not Joy to the It's not Joy to the World. If you saw me wince in pain, that's called sciatica, ladies and gentlemen. Elmo and Patsy.
What it says.
I have no idea. Now, it's like I remember a CMT video from the 80s with that song.
They look 80s.
80s music?
The photo looks like it's from the 80s.
A junior high school sweetheart / friend on Facebook posted a picture of her family in the 1980s, and I felt like I felt like the picture was like, what did I say? Pretty in Pink, Molly Ringwald, whatever his name was, or Breakfast Club. I was like, oh my gosh, I'm actually looking back at the 80s now, like my dad used to talk about the 60s, and it's just weird. It's like, oh my gosh, women actually wore their hair that way. But it was actually it was actually very nostalgic and neat. I actually had hair in the 80s. Imagine that. Gary Millwood says, our dog opened all our Christmas gifts and passed out from eating shaving lotion. Gary is now occupying first, and I don't know. You might be tied for second place with Elizabeth Scholl there for the fluorescent poop is good. I don't know. That's pretty good. Christopher Hines says the Brat Pack. Yes, man. Breakfast Club was a fun movie. Breakfast Club was a fun movie back in the 80s. The mid 80s there, 84 was a great, it's a great 80s year, as far as you get to 88, 89 and that end of the 80s, you're shifting a little bit, but right there in the middle 80s, the heart of the 80s, so fun. 86, you got Bon Jovi, and all of that stuff. I mean, I could keep on and on. And the movies were so awesome. You'd Ghostbusters and Gremlins and Back to the Future and Goonies and all these fun movies. It was just it's a different time. I had no idea then. And I was a pretty smart kid, pretty good with current events back then. I watched the news every night at 9, 10, 11, 12, all through elementary school. I watched the news every night. But I never realized how awesome the decade was, because from our perspective, you were bombarded with information that made you feel a lot of times like the world was going to end. Remember, you're in the Cold War in the middle of the 80s, and you had movies like Red Dawn, which were awesome, because everybody was going to become like a secret, covert military unit if the Soviets ever invaded, which was such an unrealistic movie, but still it was fun. But, you still had that fear of lingering, nuclear obliteration. And it was a lot of fun. It was a lot of fun, but you still didn't see that decade as being, a game changer. Then the wall came down in 89. And when the wall came down in 89, it was like, wow, the Cold War is over. But we never look at the 80s as being that, we look at the 80s now as being that great golden era of music and movies and all this stuff. But I never would have imagined that even in the 90s that we would look back at the 80s with such nostalgia. I realize that there's a tendency to always look back 20 and 30 years ago and call it the good old days. We do that, but not always. There are some time periods we have not looked back. The 30s, you don't find a whole lot of people looking back at the 30s and going, wow, those were the days. They just don't. The Great Depression, the crash of the stock market in 29, it wasn't a great time. And even then, during the 30s, you didn't have or I should say this, in the 40s, people didn't look back at the 20s and say, wow, those were the days. And yet they were crazy times, man. They were, you would think people would really be nostalgic about the 20s, but there was a lot of guilt about the 20s, that the 20s were the reason why the stock market inevitably crashes and so on. Jessica Harris says, oh, Christmas tree? No. You can show that one. You can show that one. I don't know why. That's just silly. Did you see that come up?
Just now. We
get the weirdest things. Like somebody will comment. This happened to Jessica the other night, where somebody will comment, and it's not a bad comment, but it'll say, be careful on this comment. I'm like, there's nothing wrong with that comment. And where were we? Oh, somebody said War Games. Christopher Hines said War Games. Man, I watched that movie's on Netflix, if I'm not mistaken, right now, and I think it's still on YouTube. That's free. That always makes me think, when you start seeing a movie from that time period show up on Netflix, and you see it show up like for free in a lot of places, that I always think they're throwing a bone out to see who would be interested in a remake. And War Games, I don't know that if you could remake War Games, because I don't think people are as scared of nuclear war as we used to be. It's not in vogue anymore. It's not the way we do war anymore. We do war different now. But it was good, man. Matthew Broderick was a kid. Is it Ali Sheedy Ali Sheedy, I think, that plays his girlfriend / friend, accomplice, whatever. Bren says, to me, the 60s and 70s were the good old days. Yeah, well, listen, the 60s, it goes without saying that the 60s and the 70s, they were just the 60s and the 70s. I mean, music, it says it all. But there is something about the news in the 60s and the 70s. You get the Vietnam War that kicks up in 1965. You've got the first 4 years of the 60s that were still very nostalgic and very much like the 1950s, with the exception of some news things that I don't want to get into here tonight. And of course, rock and roll is starting to thrive in the early 60s. But then in the Vietnam War, from the last part, from 65 into 70, the news begins to, the nation starts shifting from this post-World War, the baby boom takes place, and the news starts shifting. And as far as on this part of the planet here in North America, I'm not speaking on behalf of the whole world right now, but on this part of the planet, there's a shift in our attitude towards civics and the support of our government. By 1973, and you guys all know what happens in 1973 with Nixon and Watergate and all that, there's this tremendous shift in the attitude of the public towards government, civics, and all those things for a variety of reasons. So I love the 60s and 70s as far as the music. Who doesn't? My goodness, there's just awesome music. And it doesn't matter the genre. If you like country music, it was a great time for country music. If you like Soul music, it was a great time for soul music. Every genre, it was just an amazing time for music. O'Brien says, Little Drummer Boy. That is, the Temptations had by far the best version, in my opinion, about Little Drummer Boy.
I think he's guessing.
Oh, sorry. I was just talking. No, it's not Little Drummer Boy. But that would have been a good one because no one would have figured. You'd have to go da 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 da. Oh, The Day After was a scary movie. Yes, The Day After came out. Was that 1984 or 1985, and it was on television. And the networks made whichever network it was on. They had to put up a disclaimer because it was going to scare people, and it got everybody talking about what would happen after a nuclear war. But what they didn't tell anybody is like, look, nobody would survive that. There's not going to be somebody driving around in some kind of souped up. It was like a motorhome. It was like an armored motorhome with big tires, and it like could shield you from radiation. George Peppard, I think is his name. Is that his name? He starred in that movie. Gary Millwood says, "Send me all your fruitcake. I love them." Yes, I crazy. Okay, Gary. Big Frog Barbecue and Cooking. I have seen a lot of references to the movie They Live lately. Have I seen that? I don't think I've seen that one. Need to look into that. They Live. I'll check that out. O'Brien says, Old Time Rock and Roll, one of the best rock songs. Yeah, it is. Yeah, it is. This song came out in the 70s, right? Old Time Rock and Roll. Or maybe 80. I don't know. Check that out real quick. And it's talking about something. It's talking about old time rock and roll, and it's referring back to the late 50s, I think. And so when I think old time rock and roll, 1978. So when I'm thinking in 1978, I'm thinking he's already singing about old time rock and roll. So he's going back 20 years. He's going back to 1958. The Big Bopper, Richie Valens, Buddy Holly. It's a good time, man. There's some great music there. Buddy Holly. The music is light for us now. When we go back and listen, I was listening to Richie Valens the other day, and you appreciate it. Listen, you always appreciate it because it's the birth of rock and roll. You appreciate it. You say, but it's light. The recordings, even the best digital reproduction, the recordings, we didn't have our studios. We didn't understand studios, and we were trying to learn how to get the best sound out of stuff. So it's like I greatly appreciate it. When I was younger, I loved anything from 1958 to 1974. Those were my years. Later on, I shifted. It was really funny. I just shifted up. Gary Millwood said, Jingle Bell Rock. Dennis Jackson said, try Roll Over Beethoven for the song. It's not Roll Over Beethoven. To me, this was so easy. It was so easy. It was like,
I've already forgotten what it was.
You're scaring me. No, I had to make sure that I remembered. Sorry. Gary Millwood said Jingle Bell Rock. No. Dennis Jackson said, done by the Electric Light Orchestra. Let's see, what was it? It's like Roll Over Beethoven, done by Electric Light Orchestra. But that is an awesome song. We were listening to Trans-Siberian Orchestra last night, and that I love the guitar-driven Carol the Bells. It's so cool. Elizabeth Scholl said that she has seen that movie that was mentioned earlier, but now I can't remember what that movie was, but she said she couldn't sleep. It was so scary. They Live. She watched They Live, and she couldn't sleep because it was so scary. And of course, when we're talking about music, my dear mother is going to mention Elvis. Mom still thinks that my channel should be dedicated to Elvis and all of my videos about Elvis. D-Lo says, it's okay, guys. I'm here. I was worried. I've been worried sick. Play it again. No, that's not it. Christopher Hines says, I made mixtapes by recording music off radio. That was awesome. Everybody had that capacity too in the mid-'80s where you take a tape and put it in one side and push record while the radio was playing, and you could record whatever was off the radio. It was like early pirated music. It was sort of a download too, if you think about it. Ooh, nobody has said that yet. That was like original downloading music, right? Because you're putting it on an you're putting it on a tape, right? And maybe, think about it, I don't know. I made mixtapes, recorded off the radio. O'Brien Tammon said, in the Hall of the Mountain King. That is not the song. That is not the song. But that is a good song. Transylvania Orchestra. Is that what I said? Did I say Transylvania?
No.
Did I say it right? I thought that David was going to bust me out. You said Transylvania. Elizabeth Scholl said The Day After. Yeah, somebody mentioned that earlier.
That's the movie she was talking about. I think I thought it was there.
Oh, I thought it was that. Listen, the movie The Day After scared everybody, Elizabeth. It was terrifying. I thought it was cool. I did, because I had my action figures out when it was playing. Because the thing they were driving around in the movie was cool. It had big tires. It had computer looking stuff in it. Back when computers were mysterious. Man, if you ever went to somebody's house, let's say 84, 85, one of your buddy's parents had a computer, it was so ooh, especially after the movie War Games, everybody wanted to be a hacker and break into the government and stuff. Jessica Harris says, here comes Santa Claus? No. I'm having this bad feeling that I'm going to have a revolt if I don't have the right DAWs in there. It's I'm having this time. Because they are working this. And I'm going, oh, I'm in so much trouble if the DAWs don't line up.
Dedicated and determined.
I'm so sorry. Because to me, it should be so easy. It's and I'm going, no, apparently it's not. David Lowe or D-Lo says the day after movie propagation was awesome. I remember the people's skeleton. Oh, I forgot about the people's skeletons. I remember that. Remember all the roaches and stuff? They came out because they were radioactive roaches. Because apparently the day after a nuclear explosion, nuclear exchange, the day after is enough time for roaches to mutate and get really big. It's like the Incredible Hulk. There was just a little bit too much Incredible Hulk Marvel Comics involved with that scene. Well, Thomas says, Bill, you're giving your age away. Man, every time I look into the camera, I'm giving my age away. Look at this white right here.
Stop.
I mean, I remember when this was red. D-Lo, deck the halls. Now, count the DAWs and make sure I didn't mess it up. D-Lo got it. Of all people in the universe, it's D. Good job, man. Good job. That's what it is. It is deck the halls. What?
I think you.
Did I mess up? Somebody?
I think your DAWs are wrong.
Are my DAWs wrong? Da.
No. Never mind.
Okay, my DAWs are good. Good job, D-Lo. You win. A good job for me. So, good job. From me to you, good job. Good job. Good job. There you go. Well, John, way to go, David. Good job, David. Atta boy. By the way, what's UT's record? Anybody keeping up with Tennessee football right now? Because I don't get a chance to watch football. And, and my main team is Michigan, and Michigan's embarrassing. The Detroit Lions are embarrassing. I think the Titans are tanking this year again. Yes, they suck. They're terrible. Yeah, about that. Here's the thing. When you have a team that's trying to rebuild and they're trying to do something, and then something like the pandemic hits here in 2020, it's extra pressure. It really is. It's extra pressure. It's just awesome. Awful. D-Lo says, isn't that the only Christmas song with DAWs? I think so. What? What? And the Steelers are kicking. Don't even talk to me about the Steelers, Bryn G. That's my wife's favorite team. You know that. You know that, Bryn. I can't give her a voice here. Actually, neither one of us have been able to watch much football this year, or last year. Last year was almost the same way, where we just were not able. And I think I've shared this with a few people. One of the things that we're wanting to do is go to a Steelers game, like a Monday Night Football game, when the Steelers played the Steelers played the Titans. I'll get it out here in a minute. One of the things that I'm buying for Carolyn soon is a Steelers jersey. I'm going to get her the jersey and the boggin and the gloves. The only reason why she's a Steelers fan, I'm going to tell you this, is 12 years ago, she fell in love with Palomalu. She says it was his hair, okay? But we all know Palomalu's easy on the eyes, whatever. But she just loved and the coach. And she loved the atmosphere because that was a good team. That was a great team. They were exciting that year. I kept trying to get her to be a Titans fan or a Lions fan. Anyway, I wouldn't do that to anyone. Being a Lions fan is like being on Prozac for 100 years. That's all. It's all I know to say. Dennis Jackson said, I missed the clue of a Christmas song. I never gave a clue. But we're going to have to do that again because people were fighting for that answer, man. And D'Lo comes on here for 2 minutes. He gets the right answer. Like, boom. It's crazy. UT is 3-6. That is embarrassing. Bringy says, come on, Bill. Live with it. Live with it. They are awesome. I admit that the Steelers have a wonderful franchise. And, the Steelers, they've had some bad years. I remember back in the day, they had a few years that they struggled, but they don't stay down long. They got a good front office. They're unlike Detroit, that I don't know why Detroit, they can't put anything together. I think they should sell the team, if you want the truth, to somebody who wants to win. But the Titans have a good organization. But they don't have the legacy that the Steelers have. The Steelers, franchises that have a history of winning will continue to win. They may have a few off years, but winning is contagious, but so is losing. And once you have a team like the Lions, who have spent like 60 years or so missing the playoffs, going 0-14 or whatever it was, 0-17 one year, and that is their legacy. And even years where they come close, they'll do something like fire their coach like they did 2 years ago. But the Titans are heading in the same direction as the Steelers as far as having they have a good administration. They have owners that want to win, and that's hopefully it'll stay that way. Doesn't mean they're perfect, but Jessica says, "Wait, what was the song?"
That's all right.
Oh, you already got it? Okay. It was Deck the Halls, and Bryn says, "Oh, Troy Polamalu." She said, "Well, I love them all." You've probably been watching them since Terry Bradshaw was the heartthrob on that team. Terry Bradshaw at one point was everybody's favorite. Christopher Hines says, I haven't watched a single game. Things are too political for a sport. Sometimes, yeah. I mean, it's this year, I think it was hard for me as a fan. Because I used to coach football. I played football. And it was hard as a fan now. Because I've kind of separated myself from being the ultimate football fanatic, which I have been for a very long time. But many years ago, I was like, I just don't have time to watch every game like I used to. And it was sort of boring to watch a game. It's not that the action on the field's bad. It's just that there's nobody in the stands. They're piping in the crowd noise. That was weird. Just little things that kind of throw it off. But there's some good gameplay this year. I've watched some good gameplay. Like, okay, that was a good play. But I just think the crowd is sort of like the 12th player, whether or the lack of a crowd or whatever. Those advantages play into things. If a team can go into somebody's home stadium and win, it says something. But this year it really doesn't. Maybe a little because you're still traveling. I don't know. D'Lo says, doesn't Revelation 21:8 say all liars and stealers shall have their part in the lake of fire?
Don't hate.
D'Lo. Elizabeth Scholl, tell me I was raised. She said, tell me I was raised a Cubs fan is what I'm assuming. Lord, you're the same. But at least the Cubs are competitive most of the time. It was a shame, too, because back in the 80s when the Cubs were on WGN, and if you had cable, your two cable stations, WGN, and, of course, you had TBS, WTBS. And so you watch the Braves. And again, I'm talking about the 80s here, okay? You watch the Braves lose all the time, and you watch the Cubs lose all the time. So that had to be miserable. Elo says, Detroit needs to bring Barry Sanders out of retirement. It's funny. They fired their coach this year. They brought him in from the Patriots after firing a coach that had actually taken to the playoffs and was doing well. It's very controversial. They fired him this year, the one they brought in from the Patriots, and they won the next game while they're in transition for a new coach. It's insane. I like my gladiators bleeding. Richie said, I've been watching them since I was a little girl. My dad and brothers have everything to do with that. So my memory goes back to the 60s with him. Long-time fan. Man, that's a true – Bryn G is a true Steelers fan. If you've been watching the Steelers since the 60s, listen, you can call yourself a fan of a team or whatever, but unless that's a very unique kind of situation because you've come up through the glory years for Steeler fans, man. You watch those old clips of those games with Terry Bradshaw on them, my goodness, that's NFL highlight films. The guy that does the voice is on there on a cold day in December. He's the sensational. NFL films is fun anyway. They make it look like you're watching a newsreel from World War II and it's football. Brent says they were losers then, but we still love them. I thought that the 70s is when they were on, right? 70, whatever, mid-70s, late 70s. I was giving them the 60s, but I was saying by the mid-70s, if you've been watching them from the 60s, by the time you're in the 70s, and they're good. I mean, you've been with them. Green Bay is another example. If you've been with Green Bay, let's say you grew up watching Green Bay, and yes, Green Bay had some bad years, but man, they are the original Super Bowl champ. So Green Bay fan, that's a whole unique situation in Green Bay that a lot of people don't even realize. We're like this. I forget exactly how it works, so you guys can jump in, but like the city owns, like the citizens of Green Bay own the Green Bay Packers. It's just a very unique situation. Every game is a sellout. It doesn't even matter if they're good or bad because, people own the team. And so you have to wait on a waiting list to get season tickets. It's a big deal. Red says, but I didn't say the 60s. Oh, yes. By the 70s, they were a whole new team. And they were pretty awesome. She said, Elizabeth Schultz says, I love watching those old Packers reels. Oh, man. And Vince Lombardi was so ahead of his time. One of the things he used to say, you guys probably have all heard him say this, but it's something I remind myself of in ministry and everything else. The first day of football camp every year when the team, the new team would come in, he would always start, from what I understand, holding up a football, and he would say, and I might be getting this story wrong. Anyway, it's the whole idea of looking at the football and saying, man, we got to go back to the basics. First, this is a football. Like, let's go back to the bare bone basics. What is this all about? Here's the ball. And I thought that was cool. That may have been when he went to the Redskins. That may not have been something he always did at Green Bay. I may be telling a false story on his story when he goes to the Redskins is kind of sad, though. I watched one of those documentaries, like behind the scenes, Vince Lombardi, and it was sad. It was very sad. College football is just it's the same way with college as it is the NFL. These guys, bless their heart, with what's going on, it's just so complicated to play games and everything else. Nick Stotzel, I hope I said your name right, and if I didn't, forgive me. I think Devontae Adams will be the best receiver in Packers history. I got to be honest with you. I don't keep up with the Packers, so I apologize. The name sounds familiar, but again, I've not been keeping up with a lot of football this year, and which isn't really like me. Juan Thomas says, I like it when football teams, play in the snow and rain and love the slip and sliding and great plays. They still do that. It's just right. I mean, it's just that if it's already terrible conditions before the game, they cancel. The way I thought that's the way that I understood it. Like if a blizzard is moving in, let's say it's Saturday night, the game is Sunday at 1, and the blizzard moves in right before the game in time to cancel it before everybody shows up, they'll cancel it. But if the blizzard starts at the beginning of the game, they'll play it through. That's the way I understand it. Now, rain, if there's any sign of lightning, they'll stop. But have they canceled a game for rain? I remember back in '86 when they had the Fog Bowl there in Chicago. Does anybody remember that? That was insane. David Lowe says, remember IBM presents You Make the Call on Monday Night Football. Yes, I do. Yes, I do. Man, Monday Night Football used to be awesome. It was like a primetime event invented by Al Davis of the Raiders. He owned the Raiders, and he invented this concept of primetime football on a Monday night. After all the other games had played, this was going to be a special event. And it used to come on, and it was so awesome. And there was always a storyline, and it was great. And they got rid of Monday Night Football to ESPN. And to me, that took away how special Monday Night Football was. It really did. Even though, I still would watch a game when it would come on or whatever, it wasn't the same as that special moment that was on ABC. It was ABC, right? I'm pretty sure. Now you have Sunday Night Football, which they've kind of taken the concept on Sunday Night Football that used to belong to Monday Night Football. I just think it would have been better keeping it on Monday night. That's just my opinion. Gary says they played in real weather. Yes, but they didn't play with real equipment. Have you ever seen the equipment? Even in the 80s when I was playing, in the 90s, the equipment, man, it could get you killed. Well, Juan, you're right. So many stadiums do have cover. Yeah, that's a good point. That's a good point. The retractable roof is a big thing. I honestly, I'm surprised. I know that the trend is the retractable roof is definitely the trend that everybody's going for. But a lot of teams like Minnesota, they had the dome for a long time, but they made it to where they could play at least in the open air. And that seems to be the trend where you can at least do either, but it's still not the same as playing in the snow. I don't think Foxborough, the Patriots, I don't think they will ever have a covered stadium. I think that's a part of their identity. In Tennessee, people really like, what is it, Adelphia Stadium? People love that stadium down there. Dilo says, John Wooten started every first UCLA basketball practice teaching how to tie shoes. I didn't know that. That's interesting too. Man, go back to the fun. When in doubt, go back to the basics. I don't know how this turned into a football, basketball, sports conversation, but it's fun. Big Frog Barbecue Cookie says, no cable, so no Monday Night Football. That was the other thing. And I guess in their logic, everybody has cable. Everybody has cable or satellite, so you should be able to have ESPN. With everything, I don't know if you guys are keeping up with this, and it's probably a little late in the stream to get into this, and I said this the other night, nobody really bit into the conversation, but I think within the context of what we're talking about, this is important. Streaming services are dominating the news right now. I mean, Warner Brothers has thrown down the gauntlet because they partnered up with HBO Max to release 21 movies that were supposed to be at the theaters. They're going to release those on HBO Max. And, of course, Disney has thrown down the gauntlet with what Disney does. I don't know about you guys, but I can't afford – it's not that I can't afford – I ain't going to spend like $30, $40, $50 on different streaming services just to watch one or two things. I'm not. It's not going to happen. But I noticed that even back in the 90s, late 90s, mid-90s, late 90s, when satellite companies and cable companies were pushing sports packages, that worried me then because you were going to pay for your cable, then pay for the sports package. I can see a time when you're having to pay to watch your particular team or whatever, which you're kind of already doing that if you're not in the right region. Anyway, that's a big conversation. The streaming services thing is bigger than you realize. Like I said, we have Xfinity now, and I love EPB in Chattanooga. Fastest internet available. Seriously, look it up. Nobody realizes that, but it's the fastest internet available. We don't have the fastest internet available anymore. That's all I'm going to say. I'm not a huge fan of Cabletown. O'Brien is still in the house. Cable is the entertainment of the past now. Ow, that hurt, O'Brien. Ow. Did that hurt anyone else? Did anyone else feel that in their heart? O'Brien is awesome. He's a phenomenal musician and one of the smartest people I've ever met. He's brilliant. But that hurt. Ow. Yeah, but it is. You're right. Cable is like our television. I would show it right now, but I don't know what's over there. I could have underwear on the wall and not remember it. But our television has not been turned. Well, no. We turned it on the other day because I was showing two of the kids something. So I turned it on the other day. But before then, it hadn't been turned on in like 4 or 5 months. I had to dust it because we never watched television.
I dusted.
Well, I'm just saying. The computer, I'm either always working, and if I want to watch something, I jump on YouTube or another service or whatever and watch it there. I don't watch regular television. D-Lo says, Wally. I don't know how that relates, but if you're saying I'm looking like Wally, I know I'm losing weight, Dave. Come on now. I don't know what you're referring to there on Wally, but that movie wasn't terrible. Wally, the movie. But yeah, cable is the the entertainment of the past. And I realize that if you're like my age and older, maybe even a little younger than me, that there may be some things that you still watch on cable television, but I can't imagine what I would watch on cable television. I can't bear the thought of another reality show. Okay. I hated reality. The only reality show I've ever watched anyway was Survivor. First season, back when I lived in Athens, Tennessee, the first season was just mind-blowing. It was just so amazing. But then everything became reality television, and I hated it. I was just like, I don't want to watch all, I want to see some fiction. I don't want to see something that's pretending to be real when it's not. Because it was so obvious that a lot of reality TV was staged. It wasn't real. So I don't know. I think it all started with reality TV, to be honest with you. But listen, guys. We have talked, we have played, we have communed together tonight. It is always a joy. I will be on here tomorrow. Now listen, you may see me pop on here at different times tomorrow. And that is great. If you can join, please join, because we've got to make up for some days. Remember, we had a pretty difficult last week, and so we had to take a few days off. And so here's the thing. I got to make up for those days. Remember, you got to vlog every day. During Vlogmas, you have to vlog every day all the way to the 25th of December, from December 1. So I've got days to make up. I'm behind. So I'm going to jump in on here different times of the day. It's going to be crazy, and I can't do this without your help. The only way we can do this kind of thing together is if we do it together. That didn't make any sense. That wasn't as profound as I was hoping it would be. I struggled on that one. Nevertheless, join us if you have time, if you're able to. If you're at work, tell your boss, you say, look, I've got stomach indigestion. I need to go home. No, I'm kidding. Don't do that. That would be bad. Big Frog, because we still got comments coming in, says, are you going to see the Christmas star next week? Yes. From what I'm going to do my research on that right following this. I'm going to, because this is what I'm wanting to do, but Carolyn and I have a lot of work to do to make this happen. Carolyn has an average camera. Okay. And when I say average, I'm talking about referring to live stream. We have tried to live stream with that camera before, and it didn't work well. However, there were different circumstances. So I had this idea that I've got to pitch to Carolyn once I've done my research, where I may be able to bring you images of that. We have to see. I have to do some research. I have to figure it out, and it would take a lot of work on her part. And then you don't want to put that much work into it if it's not possible. You've got to see a possibility, how it can work. Because I don't want to make the same mistake I made that one time with the comment or whatever it was, where it was a disaster. But wow, I had 1,400 people in the live stream waiting. And like I said, if you don't know that story, the funniest story is what people were saying in the comments was some of the most hysterical things that have ever been said on our channel. Just people feeling sorry for me. It was just a disaster. But it was so fun. It was so fun. Dennis says, I'm watching TV and you on my laptop at the same time. That's way too much Bill Marion. Dennis, that is way too much Bill Marion. And I've come to the conclusion, I very seldom will watch myself on the television through like your YouTube on TV, because I'm like, oh God, that looks bad. You know, I just don't do it. Our Southern Highlanders, Horace Kephart. Bryn G says, enjoy. Good night, Bill. Good night, Karen. Good night, Bryn. And Bryn, I love you so much. Bryn, we love you so very much. You're the sweetest kid in the world. He says, good night, Dad, Mom. We love you, buddy. Good night, guys. We will see you guys tomorrow.